So everyone needs an attorney, yet not every attorney is a good one. And you wonder why, like after litigation, right? Why did so much litigation end up settling? After hundreds of thousands or millions of dollars are spent, why does it end up in most cases settling? Are the attorneys you hire learning while on the job, or are they already subject matter experts? And if you spend millions of dollars in attorney fees with no results, we'll show you why and how to avoid that in the future. So as you scale, you're going to need an attorney. It's rare not to scale and build a business that doesn't have a legal issue at some point. And there are attorneys everywhere, all different kinds of areas. And so how do you pick the right one? And do they work for you, or do they work for the courts? Do they understand litigation, or are they outside of litigation where they work on resolving issues before it gets to the courts or before it gets to litigation? The litigator is going to want to litigate to keep going as long as they can litigating. And then the attorney who is not litigation probably wants to resolve before it gets to litigation. And you should know the difference, and you should know which one motivates the other. Hire a litigator to file claims or lawsuits in civil court. And a litigator's profession is to litigate, is to sue, is to create claims. That's what they do. If you are a surgeon, then you will focus on surgeries. And now if you're a surgeon strictly for tonsils, then you're gonna, every time somebody comes to you, you're gonna say, "Yep, I'll remove the tonsils." Or if you're a surgeon who removes prostate, you're gonna say, "You know what, I'll remove the prostate." You have surgeons who are specifically skilled in a specific area, and they're always going to go to the area that they're more skilled in. You may not be aware, or you may ignore rather, or aware that there could be alternatives in the attorneys that you're hiring. So let's say if you hire a hitman. Hitmen, they do the work. They go in and they make the hit. They're not gonna say, "Okay, you know what? I'll take your money, but let me try to work out a negotiation. Let me talk to the other person." No, they're not gonna do that. They're gonna make the hit. And let's say you work for the meat industry and you're a heavy meat eater. You're gonna ignore information coming in from vegans or from alternative sources that don't support the meat industry. I have friends who are medical doctors and who, just various medical professionals, and anything that comes in that doesn't support what they do, which is eating meat, it's always something where they're totally against it. There's not enough evidence, it's not scientific, and it's because they're already biased towards anything that comes in. And you're gonna find this with attorneys and other professionals as well. Litigators make money from litigation, so everything to them is litigation. It's not resolving the problem outside of court before it gets to court. And this is extremely important to understand. The party that stole the funds, they also pay litigation fees, but they pay litigation fees from the money that they stole, right? So both are paying hundreds of thousands in litigation fees. Yet it's back and forth like a ping pong game. So even the party that stole the funds, they're losing money because, you don't steal money to spend it in litigation fees, but they're losing money as well. So who's really winning here, right? And at what cost? Only the attorneys win, especially when it gets to court. They are agents of the courts, not necessarily of you and I. And that was key for me to understand. Here's the other thing to keep in mind. You're not the only client for that particular attorney. So they can't, even if you're paying them $5,000 a month or $10,000 a month, they can't just have you as their client. Attorneys often have junior attorneys that are helping them that must also get paid. And they have, say, 5 cases or 10 cases at one time. How much concentration, how much focus do you think is going to go to each client? Probably to the highest paying client for the most part, which means if you're distracted, if you're not focused on that particular client, then you're probably not going to do as well. You're going to miss something, right? And you and I may not understand that. So in this case, well, each attorney has several attorneys working for them in some cases. And each attorney is sending in their billable hours. They may not send it individually to me, but one attorney, his fee, which is about $1,000 an hour, and then he had a junior attorney, which is about $650 an hour, and he had another attorney working on it, and he was overseeing all of them. So each attorney has to bill, and then he has to bill on top of what they're doing, and none of them are subject matter experts. So if you hire an attorney, make sure it's a specialist in your industry. Otherwise, you're in a case for a long ride, which is sometimes why litigation ends up settling, because it's like you constantly go back and forth. You're like, you know what? it's never going to be an end. The courts are made for attorneys. In a sense, attorneys work for the courts because they're going with legalese, processes, and procedure. And when you're hiring, especially when you go into litigation, it's important to try to see how can you resolve it before that. Most litigators are just litigators. They're people who know how to file claims. They're not necessarily an expert in your particular area. Let's say you have an intellectual property issue. Most litigators are going to say, I'll take it. Or if you have a criminal issue, they'll say, I'll take it. They may be good in litigation in criminal matters, but they may not be good at litigation as it results to banking crimes. They're generic litigators, but they'll take your money. So you got to be careful because that means they're going to charge you their highest billable hour, and they're going to have their other team members, other attorneys are going to be billing as well on top of that while they learn. And can you imagine you as an expert charging top dollar to learn something? It's crazy, but it happens. And especially in the online space, oftentimes we do that, but those businesses don't last long. But attorneys have a license to practice. So they can do this again and again and again and again. And you have to ask yourself, how long does it take to become proficient in a particular industry, into a particular segment? It's not like it's overnight. It's not a day, a week, a month, or even sometimes 6 months. Sometimes this could take a year or two to become well-versed in a particular area. But again, you bring on this generic litigator who is going to take your money and charge you top dollar while they make mistakes, while they learn. And they're going to tell you, you know what? We're just going to keep going back and forth. Just keep fighting. You're going to be on top some days. You're going to be in the bottom some days. Just keep rolling up. You're going to keep fighting, keep fighting. There was all kinds of things happening that an expert in that particular subject matter would have avoided. You're really paying them for their high intuition. A lot of litigation can last sometimes up to 2 years. Sometimes the courts are backed up, but sometimes it's just a lot of back and forth processes. One attorney files, another attorney maybe they have something to do. Maybe they have a dinner to go to that day and, they can't make it. And so they file for an extension. Of course, you get charged for that. And then to file for a new case, they may charge you for that as well. So you got to keep these things in mind because while this case is going on for a 2-year period, they still need to get paid in some kind of way. It's highly unlikely that you're not going to get a bill that particular month. There's always going to be something to do, some kind of paperwork to file. And if it's a litigator, why would they want to end it quickly? Why would anybody in any profession want to end their income quickly? Let's say you're a coaching specialist and you talk with somebody and you find out that you can help them out resolve their problem in literally, say, 90 days. Why would you cut off your income? You're going to stress that thing out. And attorneys are no different from other people. It almost sounds like a conflict of interest where to get to a resolution fast is going to end someone's income, but that's the game. Litigators who file cases in the wrong state, they got kicked out already after 6 figures in legal fees and expenses. And we're talking about tons of millions of dollars stolen, and they still couldn't figure it out. You're still starting from ground zero when you're not working with a subject matter expert. When a mistake happens, such as filing in the wrong state, then now you have to go and hire another attorney in another state that this other attorney has to oversee. So now you have 2 sets of attorneys billing the freaking hell out of you. So now a retainer for an even more expensive litigator, again, that the initial litigator has to work with, right? This is why some people end up running out of money in litigation because you have attorneys who is taking all the money and they're just charging you billable hours. Freaking 5 litigators working a case. And the party that stole the money has litigators. So you got like maybe 8 to 10 litigators involved. We're not even talking about the actual bank attorneys. You add another 5 attorneys onto it. All these attorneys, but no resolution. What does that say to you? You're not winning. So who's actually winning? This is why they say only the attorneys win. And while all this money is being paid out, the other company's billing you, and then you got your attorneys billing you. This is how you go out of business fast. It's not by mistake, it's by design. When you have all these litigators who are litigating, you can't pay litigation fees forever with no end in sight. And there's no attorney that can legally tell you they can actually resolve your case. But hundreds of thousands, millions of dollars in litigation fees just to protect other clients and to protect the bank. But that is not a sustainable program. That is not something that is long-term. So the story's not over. At some point in the very near future, we're going to talk about the players. How did it happen? Where it happened? Who was accountable? Who should be accountable? right? What are the various entities out there that hold these institutions accountable, that hold people accountable? Where's the government? Where's the FBI? Where's the FTC? We're going to talk about all that because, we want to learn from our mistakes, right? We want to learn from the people we work with, but there's also another criminal element, another criminal chapter that we're going to discuss here so that you can avoid this, so that you don't have to deal with litigation. Whenever you have to go into litigation, you want to start with yourself and you want to ask yourself, who is responsible? Because if that is the case, maybe you shouldn't go to litigation. Maybe you should resolve it in a different way. You want to kind of weigh out litigation versus cutting your losses and moving on. There had been so much that was done, so much crime that happened. So someone had to step up for clients. Someone had to step up for sales agents. Ask myself, why weren't the litigators effective? And if you're looking for a litigator, when you look at some of their old cases, were they effective and why weren't they effective? Do you want them on your team? There's so many different things that litigators go through, and a lot of it's public information. Some of them, when you're actually going for a litigator, you're going to read the contract carefully. Do they have percentages that they charge you for late fees? And also, is there an arbitration clause, meaning that if something goes wrong, if they make a mistake, and a lot of them have an arbitration clause in there because they want that to be hush-hush. They don't want that to be public information because sometimes they'll come back and still try to hold you accountable for the mistakes that they made. And they may even try to sue you. So you want to look at that carefully and say, hey, do I want an arbitration clause in there? Since everything is public that's filed in court, do we want this public? So the moral of the story is that when you hire an attorney, you want to make sure that it's someone who's a subject matter expert in your area. Also, you want to make sure that they're open-minded and that they're not too arrogant or that they're not closed-minded in reference to working with another attorney who is a specialist in the space, and that they don't have to be this lead attorney. You don't want the litigators as a lead attorney when you have an attorney who's a strategist who can resolve it before it even gets to court, right? So make sure you keep that in mind. Otherwise, you're going to pay hundreds of thousands of dollars in litigation fees and still no guarantee of success whatsoever. So if there's something in this video that impacts you in a positive way, hit the like button. If there's something that you don't agree with, let me know in the comments. And if there's an idea or something that you'd like to share, make sure you let us know in the comments. And if you want more of this, hit the subscribe button. This is Khaazra.